Hello and welcome to this session. This is Professor Farhat, in which we will discuss accounting for sales on consignment. But the first thing we want to understand is, what is the consignment arrangement? So before you understand the accounting, you want to understand the business logistics of this transaction, so it will be easier to go through the accounting concept. Well, in a consignment arrangement, the owner of the goods, let's assume the company Pepsi-Cola. They can send the merchandise to another party called the consignee. Let's assume your local supermarket, who attempt to sell the goods on the consignor's behalf. Now, I said your local supermarket because your local supermarket might sell other things other than PepsiCo goods. But you might have stores. For example, in the US, we have stores. The only thing that they do is they sell goods for the consignor. You just send them the goods and they sell it. But this arrangement could be between any two parties. One party's agreed to sell the goods of another party. Now, keep in mind the ownership stays with the consignor, and the consignee gets a fee for their service. They receive a fee. So the consignor retains ownership of the goods until they are sold. And this is important because when the consignor account for their inventory, when they count their inventory, they assume they still have those goods. The consignee is acting as an agent. They do not own the goods. Their job is to sell it. Think of it as a salesperson. That's all what they're doing. They're trying to attempt to sell it, and the consignor would reimburse the consignee for selling cost, freight, commission, etc. The consignor, the person that owns the good, will have to reimburse them for any additional cost they might incur. Obviously, they'll have to clarify this up front, but that's the arrangement. Also, the consignee, as I mentioned, earn a commission based on sales, and that's their revenue. The revenue is the commission. Why? Because the sales is their job, and the way they earn the revenue is the commission. Now, for the consignor, the sales is their sales revenue, but they have to deduct the commission as cost to sell. And keep in mind, no revenue is recognized by the consignor until the consignee reports a sale. So when the consignor walks into the consignee and they give them the goods, whatever that goods is, the TV, the calculator, the computer, they cannot record the sale. Why? Because it's not a sale yet. It's not a sale until the consignee sells it and basically inform them or send them the money that the sale took place. But the best way to illustrate this concept is to work through a comprehensive exercise, show you the mechanics and the journal entries. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we proceed any further, I have a public announcement about my company, farhatlectures.com.
My AI turns any lecture into a complete study system. You can create summary table, formulas, and example from each lecture. Flashcard builds from the lesson itself. A quiz build on the lesson, and as a bonus, convert any lecture into a portable short audio on the go, so it helps you with the retention. No noise, no generic responses, just clarity based on that specific lecture. Don't just watch, interact, test yourself, and retain the material using Farhat AI. Now go to farhatlectures.com now and see how the AI can help you understand, practice, and retain the material.
So let's take a look at this example. We have Bella, the consignor, Bella Craft, ships handmade jewelry to a boutique called Sterling Boutique. Sterling Boutique is the consignee to sell the jewelry on behalf of Bella. So Sterling Boutiques, one of the things that they do, they sell goods on consignment. And here's what Bella shipped. Bella shipped 200 units. The cost for Bella for each unit is $15, whether Bella bought those units or she handmade them, it doesn't matter. It means she produced them. The cost is $15 for her. Sterling price per unit is $25. Selling price per unit is $25. So when Sterling sells those items, Sterling will sell them for $35. Bella paid $120 for outbound freight to ship those units, to ship the 200 unit to the boutique, she incurred $120. Now, how do we account for this $120? This $120 is a freight in. It's it's inventory cost. It's added to the inventory cost. Therefore, this $120 is added to the $15 per unit. It's spread out, but it's added to that cost. Miscellaneous expense paid by the boutique is $90. Maybe the boutique needed to advertise or incur some cost because of those 200 unit. Well, let's say put an ad in the newspaper, $90. Now this $90 is reimbursed by Bella. Since it's reimbursed by Bella, Bella is paying for it. Bella will add the $90 to the cost of those 200 unit. Now, boutique would receive a 25% commission on the sale. That's their revenue. In December, boutique sold 80 units and 120 units remained. Let's go through the numbers and see what we can find. Let's start with the sales. Boutique sold 80 units at 125. The total sales is $2,000. The commission for Sterling is 2,000 times 25%. Boutique would receive $500. How much Bella would receive in cash? Bella would receive the 2,000 minus the commission minus the $90 miscellaneous expense. The cash that will be sent to Bella is $1,410. Hopefully everything is clear up to this point. Remember, the reason why we deduct the $90 because the boutique paid for it, and now the boutique will keep $90. Now for boutique, this is basically an agency fee that's reimbursed. They paid $90, they got $90. So when they paid the $90, we're going to see that they debit a receivable. Now once they receive the money, the receivable is gone. So the $90 is not revenue for boutique. The only revenue for boutique is the $500. Now let's allocate the all costs incurred to figure out the cost of goods sold. All costs incurred to the good to the consignee were the unit cost, the freight, and the miscellaneous are inventoryable and must be split between the units sold and the unit remaining. What does that mean? Let's go back and review. We send them 200 units, each unit at $15. That's $3,000 worth of merchandise. Well, we sold 40%. We sold 80 out of the 200 unit. We sold 40%. Therefore, we have to allocate to cost of goods sold 1,200 of the 3,000, and 1,800 will be allocated for now for ending inventory. The freight, we paid $120. It has to be allocated 40% to the sale and 60% to the ununit, because we have to allocate the 120 to the inventory, and the same thing for the $90. 40% is allocated to the sale for now, and 60% of it is allocated to the unsold unit. Therefore, what we figure out now, what's allocated to the sale, cost of goods sold, or the inventory amount that's turned into cost of goods sold, is $1,284, and what's allocated to the inventory, $1,926, because the total cost of the inventory becomes $3,210, which is the $3,000, the cost that Bella incurred to make those jewelry items, the freight, $120, and $90 in miscellaneous expense. And we said the freight and the miscellaneous are part of the inventory. Therefore, the inventory is $3,210, allocated 40% to the units sold and 60% to the units unsold. Now we are ready to compute our cost of goods sold and the gross profit. So the sales revenue is 2,000 minus the 500 in commission expense minus the 1,284 inventoryable cost, which is cost of goods sold. This is cost of goods sold. 1,284. What's left in gross profit? $216. Once again, the cash that Bella would receive is 1,410. The profit on this sale, the gross profit, is 216. Now we want to journalize the entry for the consignor, for Bella. Now let's take a look at the journal entry. The seller, Bella, received in cash 1,410. We'll debit cash 1,410. It incurred $500 in commission expense. We debit commission expense 500. Bella paid the boutique $90. It was deducted for $90. Therefore, at some point, Bella might have recorded a payable of $90, and now that payable is basically satisfied, paid. Cost of goods sold is 1,284. Therefore, we debit cost of goods sold and we credit inventory. Then we record the sale. The total sale is 2,000 for the whole amount. The sale is debited, credited for 2,000. And this is the journal entry that Bella will record as a consignor. Now let's take a look at the journal entry that the consignee will record. Well, the consignee, remember, they paid $90 at the beginning as a miscellaneous expense. When they paid the $90, they will credit cash $90 and they will debit a receivable from consignor. It means they expect to get $90 back because that $90 is reimbursed. Then as soon as they make the sale, this is when they make the sale, they will debit cash $2,000 because they received cash of $2,000 for the sale, and they will credit not sales, they will credit payable to consignor because they know that's not their money. They have to, that's a liability for them. They have to submit it to the consignor. Then once they submit it to the consignor, they're not going to submit the whole thing. They are going to record, say, commission revenue for them. This is the consignee. This is the boutique, 500. They will debit this receivable $90. Credit the receivable $90 because now they're getting the money. And of the 2,000, they will submit to Bella 1,410. So that's the credit, and they will debit the full consignor 2,000. Let's see what happened really overall. Let's look at the if we look at the overall what happened to all these transactions. Let's start with the $90. We have a receivable of 90, debit and credit of receivable. So this is $90 debit, $90 credit. Basically, this $90 is gone for the consignee. We have a payable to consignor 2,000 credit. We have payable to consignor 2,000 debit. That's gone. So what's left? What's left is cash. We have cash total 2,000. So look what ended up happening. We debited cash. We debited cash for 2,000 initially. Then we credited cash 1,410, and we credited cash $90. So what happened is their cash account, what's left in the cash account is 500. So all the cash, after we clear the cash, what's left in the cash is 500, and the commission revenue is 500. So all in all, boutique and all this transaction recorded 500 of commission revenue and received 500 in cash. That's their revenue, which is commission revenue. And if you really think about it, if you really think about all of this, the boutique made more profit than the actual seller because the boutique made $500 in commission revenue versus the gross profit for the seller was only $216. Now let's take a look at Bella's unsold inventory. Bella unsold inventory is 120 units at $15. They still have to add the allocated freight, 60%, $72, and 60% of the miscellaneous expense, $54. What's left on their balance sheet is $1,926 for 120 unsold unit, and that stays on the balance sheet. Now, when it comes to inventory, when Bella send this inventory, they can remove it from their inventory. Remember, they sold initially 3,000 of inventory. They could remove it from regular inventory, and they can call it inventory out on consignment. So they could remove it from regular inventory, credit regular inventory, debit inventory on consignment if they choose to do that. But they want to keep a record that they have 3,000 worth of inventory at Bella, at Boutique. Boutique would never record the inventory. Why? Because it's not their inventory. Now, Boutique, what they will do, they will keep track of the inventory, maybe in an Excel sheet somewhere, just to keep a record to know who sent them this inventory and how many units, but it's never their inventory. So Boutique don't have to worry about recording inventory because that's not their inventory. However, Bella would have to keep track of their inventory, which what they have left is 1,926. Now, whether you are a CPA exam candidate, CMA, accounting student, I would say what you should do now, go to Farhat Lectures, look at additional lectures, resources, AI podcast, MCQs, exercises, simulation, cases. You want to learn this concept. You want to learn the material so you can succeed and prepare for your professional certification. Invest in yourself, and God bless.